Heyo everyone, on Fake Chaos here, and today we are going to talk about Pike units in Conqueror's Blade. Let's get going. So let's get started. What are Pike units and what are they good for? So Pike units are units that obviously use a pike, but what we mainly mean is what is their usage, and that is primarily a damage dealer. Pikes are one of the units that have a very high damage output, and with that they have the advantage of a long-ranged melee weapon, which gives them the ability to actually hit the enemy before they hit them, assuming they are also melee. So with that, where will you typically see them used? So Pike units are going to typically be used on the front line behind a shield unit, and that is a big use case that you need to know with them, is that you should stick with shields as much as possible. Pikes have the downside of having no shield, which means they're very susceptible to range attacks, and that is typically going to be the counter for them, is archers, muskets, etc. So you can take advantage of a shield wall unit by getting behind it and having them take care of ranged attacks while you take care of dealing damage. So what are all the pros of pikes? First off, they are a high damage output compared to some other melee units. With that, they also typically have damage scaling versus cavalry. So inside their veterancy tree, they're going to typically have a lot of things that increase their damage against cavs, which is why they're a big counter for cavalry units. On top of that, I already mentioned that they are a long-ranged melee unit, so that means that they are typically going to be first to hit. So if they get charged or attacked, or if they charge or attack another unit, they will typically get damage off first, potentially allowing them to take out the opponent before they even engage. So what are some of the cons? We already mentioned no shield, so they're typically going to be countered by muskets and archers. On top of that, they are typically very slow. Some of them can be extremely slow, such as the Fortebrachios. So with that, let's get into how to play them. As we talked about, get behind shields as much as possible. That way you can have the advantage of them blocking ranged attacks. Also, make sure you take advantage of the brace ability. Most pikes will have a brace, which will give them a damage increase, and that is something that you want to take advantage of, especially if you're taking a charge from an enemy shock troop or enemy cavalry. Is get in brace formation, get that damage increase, and then get that advantage. A big thing to keep in mind though is that when you are in brace, you can be targeted in a specific location, meaning that fewer of your units are engaged with the enemy. So do know when to get out of brace so that way you can have more engagement across all your units. So with that, let's talk about some of the units that you should keep an eye out for. First off, to start out, you're going to want to get the Pike Militia. This is a low tier unit, tier 2, but it is a unit that you will use throughout your career in Conqueror's Blade. It is highly effective when leveled up, even in late game, and they will constantly be the go-to low leadership unit for most players, even in late game matches. After your Pike Militia, you definitely want to watch out for Imperial Pike Guards. Imperial Pike Guards are usually the go-to late game Pike unit for a couple of reasons. One, they're fairly heavily armored, which allows them to resist a lot more combat, and on top of that, they have an advance. Their advance is one of the best ones in the game, where they will march forward and actually knock down units as they engage with them. This makes them very good at taking out enemy units, even ones that typically would counter them, seeing as they can just knock them down and CC them during the advance. Another one that is great is the Fortebrachios from Season 3. Fortebrachios are really good because they have a very long pike range, which allows them to have very early engagement against a lot of other units. On top of that, they have a very high damage output. Though with the changes in Season 5, which makes it to where pikes only engage at the tip of the weapon and do not engage and do damage within the range of the weapon's length, means that Fortebrachios may not be used nearly as much in the current season. We'll have to see as we play out more whether or not they're still as susceptible, seeing as if an enemy gets past the tip of their pike, they will no longer be able to deal damage to them, allowing that unit to take them out very quickly. So with that, I hope this video helped you out getting an idea about Pike units, both their pros, cons, and some units to look out for. If you have more questions, feel free to put them in the comments down below or on the Discord. You can also catch a Twitch stream at 12:30 a.m. Eastern, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Until next time, hope to see you on the battlefield. Did the server go down for maintenance? I better check my emails.